Today, we shine a spotlight on one of the most influential voices shaping our nation's approach to security and public safety. We're honored to welcome the chairman of the United States House of Representatives Homeland Security Committee, Representative Andrew Garbarino, a leader who has represented the New York's 2nd Congressional District with distinction since 2021. My name is Patrick Yoes, National President of the Fraternal Order of Police, and this is The Blue View. Representative Garbarino, thank you for taking some time. Look, I know that as we're recording this, the government's back in session, and I know you got a lot of catching up to do, so I'm very conscious of your time. But there are a few things that I'd love to dive into. First, if you could just tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm in my third term in Congress here, New York, representing New York's 2nd District. Took over for the great Peter King, who I'm sure a lot of your listeners knew of Pete. He was one of the first chairmen of the Homeland Security Committee, was very instrumental on following 9/11, helping sure police and firefighters were taken care of, especially those who were down on the pile in Manhattan. He helped create the healthcare World Trade Center healthcare program. So big shoes for me to fill in. Haven't served after Pete, but thank God he's still around, so he can be a great advisor. But in my third term now, new chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, again following good old Pete King and trying to fill those shoes. But with the 25th anniversary, 9/11 coming up next year, it's great to have the gavel back in the hands of a New Yorker. People forget that this committee started after 9/11. This is the Homeland Security Committee was not something that's been around forever. This was put together. The committee and the department were put together following 9/11 to make sure another 9/11 doesn't happen never again. And next year's the 25th anniversary. So honored that my colleagues in Congress chose me to lead the committee at this time, and looking forward to getting a lot of work done, both in the House and working with the administration, Secretary Noem, to protect our homeland. And that's we have a lot of oversight, and that's done in a lot of different ways. But very happy to be here with you all today. And again, lifelong Long Islander. I live about 5 minutes from where I grew up, where my dad and mom still are. So it's on Long Island. It's a very, very pro-police neighborhood, very pro-police area. Got a lot of New York NYPD, Suffolk, Nassau cops, federal law enforcement officers live in my district, and I'm honored to represent them here in Congress.
It's 25 years, coming up on 25 years. Man, the world has changed so much in 25 years, and in some ways it's reverted right back to some of the same madness that we had before. So maybe we'll dive into that if we have some time. But let me tell you, I will say this. I know this, and being a congressman is not an easy task. It's very time consuming, and stepping up and taking a leadership role like you are, well, it just adds even more to your plate. So thank you for standing up and protecting America's homeland. I had the honor to testify in front of that committee after the assassination attempt on then former President Trump. So I appreciate the work that all of you do. I'm going to dive right into this because I know your time is valuable. But I want to talk about really 3 key issues, and then we'll go back to anything you'd like to talk about as well. But I want to talk about UASI. That's one of the things that's oversight of your committee. It's something that is really important to some of our largest cities and many of our members across the country. Yeah, I know the president's executive order didn't directly mandate a specific dollar amount that should be cut from UASI, but it has caused a hold on those funds and creates a little bit of a challenge. Their budget was $553 million. I think now it's I'm not sure exactly where it stands now, but could you just give us
around this? I think it's around that amount that was appropriated. It was a little higher a few years ago, though.
Could you talk just a little bit about just the importance of that fund and how it helps our homeland?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it is hugely important. It is the and for those who don't know what UASI is, it's the Urban Area Security Initiative program, and it goes specifically to supplement police departments, fire departments, FDNY gets a chunk of the money. The way the grant has been run in the past is the awardees are determined from a formula, and it's usually a risk-based formula. So if your city or area is higher risk for a terrorist attack, then you're going to get a bigger piece of the pie, which is why New York, and rightfully so, in my opinion, has been the number one recipient of these program dollars. And this is not something that we pay out to the state, and then the state, can do what it does what it wants with the money. This is a program where, it's risk based. It's based on all the terrorism factors or counterterrorism factors that we get and information we get, and how the money can do most good. And we give it to the state, but the state then passes it down to the NYPD, to the FDNY, to the police departments in the surrounding areas like Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester Police Department. And they use this money for necessary equipment, necessary training to make sure our law enforcement officials, officers can respond if there is one. It gives them the equipment to try to prevent a terrorist attack, and two, it gives them the equipment they need to respond, or the training they need to respond if there is a terrorism attack. New York has been the top recipient of this money, and other cities, like LA, San Francisco, and a few others have all been, the top recipients because they are the targeted city. You go to, no matter what language you speak, people know what New York City is. They know that, they know those words. So there was a little concern this year. The grants that came out cut New York's funding for the UASI grant by 87%. That out of the Department of Homeland Security. That was very concerning because that was going to leave a huge hole in New York City's police budget. I mean, there was talks about shutting down the intelligence sharing operations, the bomb squad. I mean, there was a lot. This was going to cause a major, major issue. And I had said it publicly. I thought it was wrong. I thought if these are risk. Somebody needed to show me how the risk-based assessment changed that much that New York was going to get cut 87%, while other cities were going to grow. I mean, I'm not saying other cities don't deserve money to help with this, but New York is on the top of everyone's terror target list. And luckily, the president saw it the same way. So when he heard that the money was cut, the grant was cut 87% to New York, he reversed it. He came out publicly and said, no, that's not happening. New York needs this money. And he directed the secretary to reverse that cut. So I'm happy to say that the president did that. And now we're just waiting for Homeland Security Department to get that money to the state so they can get it down to the police organizations, fire organizations, the law enforcement organizations that so desperately need it to protect us. Especially, I mean, and again, to have those cuts when we have the 25th anniversary of 9/11 coming next year. It's America's 250th birthday. So we're going to have the tall ships in the city. We have FIFA is coming, so, I mean, there are so many things happening next year that I think those cuts would have been devastating and opened us up to really a risky, possible risk of a terrorist attack.
It's a wide range of what these funds are used for. Intelligence gathering, prevention, all of this, but it's also readiness as well. I guess I guess it would, in a perfect world, we would never know if we cut it and it hurt us. But the reality is that we live in a very aggressive time where we are a target, and it's just a matter of when. We need to be prepared for it. We need these resources, and there was a lot of concern. I bring this up because I think a lot of this has been resolved, but a lot of concern when we were going through this. I appreciate your leadership with it. We also signaled that same concern about the cuts and got us where I think we need to. So thank you for that.
I will say, though, you make the point about we'll never know. We do know. I mean, we do know that, and we know that intelligence center in New York and the money in these grants have stopped terror attacks in the past. So I do think, thank God that you all did the work you did to reverse those grants. We all were paddling in the same direction. So, my promise is to not let another 9/11 happen. And
absolutely.
That's why we had to fight so hard. And you were great. You all were great partners in that.
Well, thank you. I want to shift gears a little bit. This is a very challenging one for us, and this is something that you have been a big part of. I want to thank you for taking a leadership role on it. But when you look at the Law Enforcement Equity Act with our federal partners, the 6C retirement benefits, when you have essentially two people doing the same exact job next to each other, but because of the classification when they were hired determines whether or not they're going to receive benefits, this is for us. A huge concern. When you think about who's guarding some of the most sensitive locations across this country and the confidence that we're putting in them, we're seeing such a turnover because of the lack of equity of which we have in our hiring processes. You have been a staunch supporter of this. I want to thank you for that. And I'd like for you to dive into it a little bit. Help our members, those who might not understand exactly what it's doing and what do we need to do to fix this.
Well, yeah, but we have to pass the Law Enforcement Officers Equity Act to rectify the problem of these. And please ignore the beeping in the background. That's when we go into session on the floor for debate. So,
well,
it's a very noisy sound.
I'm competing with a thunderstorm here, so we'll have a lot of sound to try and work out of here.
That makes it more interesting for the listeners, I guess. But the Law Enforcement Equity Act, as you said in your question, it puts everybody on a level playing field because there are law enforcement officers that, because of old, whether it's old definitions or or classifications based on when they got hired, they are frontline law enforcement officers, but they are not treated that way. They're not treated that way for retirement benefits. They're not treated that way. Like you said, they're 6C. So this rectifies that. And that goes to law enforcement officers with the IRS or the VA, right. Postal inspection officers, CBP, yes. CBP, some CBP officers. They're right next to other officers on the front line, and to have them treated differently is not right. So that's why it's called equity. We have had some great partners lead it in Congress. The bill. Brian Fitzpatrick is a co-sponsor. We need some new Democratic sponsors though, because the two gentlemen, Congressman Connolly and Congressman from New Jersey, both passed away.
Yes,
and they were both big leaders in this. And Connolly was the chair and then ranking member in the Oversight Committee at one point. And we need new Democratic co-leads. I don't think we've been able to replace those two gentlemen since their passing. So that's probably something where you guys could be helpful. In order to move this, we would love to be able to get some Democratic co-leads.
We're trying. We're pushing as hard as we possibly can. We recognize it's a little bit of a challenge because when you look at the overall picture of the amount of people that are impacted by it, it's a small number, so it's hard to build a groundswell. But I want to make you identified a number of agencies that are affected by this. I'm going to add another one. In military installations. Our members who are working military installations and who are guarding some of the most sensitive sites we have in this country, yet because of their benefits, I would argue that we're making it less safe because of the turnover. So we're losing experience. But in addition to that, I think we're also putting ourselves in a situation where we just don't have the best and brightest guarding some of the most secure installations we have in this country. We really need to fix this.
And you don't want the turnover. Like you said, that turnover just puts these installations at risk. You want these officers who are trained. And if they have to leave, and you can't blame them for moving to another position where they are treated fairly. So we need to fix it because it's right for the law enforcement officers, it's right for their families, and it's right for the people that depend on them. Because having to train new people all the time, it makes us less safe. So you want those trained officers to be able to stay in the positions that they're trained for, and not have to move somewhere new, and then we have to do the training all over again.
Yeah, and my understanding, office personnel management could play a big part in this if they just, But again, all that aside, I will argue, and what we're hoping to do, and what we're trying to do, and it's difficult because there's so many agencies involved. We would love to know what that turnover rate is, and do it in some quantitative data, so I could show that the cost of the fix is actually cheaper than what we're doing now, because we're losing people. What we're doing is we become a training ground for people to get a resume. They get training, and then a year later, they're working in other agencies, making more money and more stability because of a broken system. I think, in my opinion, we would be safer and more cost effective if we just simply did the right thing in the beginning. So, again,
you're absolutely right. And you're probably right. And I actually think New York State, as an example, they just changed some of the way some of their officers are treated for retirement, because for the same purpose, they had there was equity there was no equity in New York on some of these law enforcement agencies. So you had NYPD or some training one officer, and then they were leaving to go to another department or somewhere else. We've seen the same thing with TSA agents and the way they're treated, and they now go somewhere else. It is more costly to have to, like you said, to be a training center, and we have to fix it. I guarantee you're probably right, where it would save us money.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to shift gears one more time, and I'm going to talk about one that I'm extremely passionate about, because this is a very big concern. I will set it up for you, and that is, I want to talk about the violence towards law enforcement officers across this country, the amount of officers that are being shot. This is one of our top priorities, and that is, it's before Congress, and it baffles my mind why we can't get any traction on this. I want to just give an example. So far this year, we're just shy of 300 officers that have been shot in the line of duty. Of that, 60 were shot in ambush attacks. That's just this year. This year is down maybe 4 or 5% from last year, and those numbers stay consistent. They're within 5-10% for the last 7 years. I can show you empirical data that law enforcement officers are being targeted. They've been targeted in ambush attacks at a rate that is alarming, and I think an epidemic. Yet we struggle to try and get the Serve and Protect Act passed through both the House and the Senate. This is no disrespect to any other profession, but I use this as an example because I think it shows where we are. If there were a coal mine that collapsed and people were trapped in it, we would have congressional hearings within 2 or 3 weeks to talk about occupational safety and the need in order to protect workers across America. But because they're police officers, and because I could show you where 300 to 350 officers are shot every year simply because they're doing their job, and a high number are being shot because of ambush attacks, I struggle to wrap my head around why we can't seem to get Congress to recognize that we need one more tool in our tool belt. And that is when we have progressive prosecutors who refuse to hold people accountable, the federal government can step in and bring federal charges for someone who targets law enforcement officers. Can we talk about that one and help me understand what we need to do to get this passed through Congress? Because it baffles me that here we are 10, 12 years later after collecting all of this data to show that we have an epidemic in this country, and we can't seem to get movement in Congress.
Yeah, we had the Protect and Serve Act, which I think did pass. It hasn't moved this year, but it had passed in the past, and overwhelmingly,
it has passed. 300. Yeah, it did. Several years ago, it passed. We go back. No, it's 2017 or 18, I believe it passed with just 1 or 2 votes against it in the House, and it died in the Senate. They took no action with it.
Yeah,
and since then, we've been struggling to try and get some action.
Yeah, look, I know I'm a
suggestions
co-sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to, as you said, we have to bring more attention to the issue. We have to bring more attention to the fact that this is not a one-off. This is happening every year, and we have the stats that show it's happening every year. This is not solely under my committee of jurisdiction, right, specifically for legislation, but I, as the chairman of Homeland Security, we have extreme broad oversight power. So this is the first time I'm going to be saying this, but we are actually, my committee is going to be holding in December a hearing specifically on the assaults on law enforcement officers. We have some great witnesses scheduled to come in, and it's going to be about how this increase has happened, because it's something that we have to talk about. And assaults on law enforcement officers is a concern for Homeland Security. So that's why my committee is going to be doing a hearing on it to shine the light on what's happening here. And I've spoken to the administration about it. The White House is very happy that we're holding this hearing. This is a priority for them as well. They let us know that this is a priority for them as well, especially to go after those people that attack, that specifically target and attack law enforcement officers. And whether that's at work, whether that's at home, it's very important, and that's why we're doing this hearing.
Great. And thank you. This is something that needs to happen. I tell you, working with this administration, working with the Attorney General, working with Homeland Security, all of them are on board. I had a very good conversation on this topic with Kesh Patel. Everybody's on board with it. We just need to get some movement on it, because look, when someone attacks a law enforcement officer, that's an attack on a community. That's an attack on society. If they are going to attack a law enforcement officer, what respect do they have for the citizens of those communities? So thank you. And we want to work with you on that. I appreciate your leadership.
And you have a huge active membership. You have a huge active membership, and having them call their members of Congress to get them on as co-sponsors is, as you all know, but I'll reiterate it for your listeners. Call your member of Congress and tell them you want them to sign on to the bill.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Congressman, is there any other things on the horizon that are important to you that you'd like to share with our members that would be coming up before your committee?
Well, there's just a lot. We've got FIFA World Cup next year. We've got the Olympics coming up in 2 years in LA. So there's going to be a lot that we're focusing on protecting, making sure nothing happens at either one of those. We are doing a lot of oversight over all the money that came in through the One Big Beautiful Bill to make sure that the border is secure and safe. We've done a great job. Secretary Noem has done a great job securing the southern border. But we still have, there's still some updates we need to make, whether it's technology or getting more Border Patrol up. So that's something the committee is going to be focusing on, working with the Coast Guard to make sure they have what they need to protect our maritime border, and heavy focus on cybersecurity. People forget, everything is digital now, and
new battleground.
New battleground. And China, Russia, our adversaries are attacking us on that battleground, and we need to be prepared to make sure our critical infrastructure is protected, and that is a huge focus. It's going to be a huge focus on my committee. So anything that affects our homeland security is something that we're going to be focusing on, making sure that we are protected, and that, again, with the 25th anniversary of 9/11 coming up next year, we want to make sure that we have the lessons learned from that. So a 9/11, and we've actually acted on them, and that a 9/11 will never happen again.
Great, and I'll let that be the final word, Congressman. I want to thank you, Garbarino. I want to thank you for spending some time with us. I want to thank you for your leadership and support of the men and women who suit up and make a difference in our communities across this country every single day. Public safety, we've kind of took it on the chin for a while, but the reality is the quality of life we enjoy today, the property values we have, all of this is directly related to public safety. We appreciate your support with us, and thank you for taking time. I know your time is tight, so I'm going to cut this off, and I want to thank our viewers and listeners back home, and those that are pushing squad cars at night listening to us. I want you to know how much we appreciate all that you do as well, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Blue View Podcast, where we talk about the things that are so vitally important to the men and women who suit up and show up every single day and make a difference in the lives of the people we serve. Thank you.
Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else to get your podcast. To get the latest from the National FOP, make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at GLFOP and on Instagram at FOP National. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.